Implausible Nature now has dice. That's right, you can get these awesome D6s made by our partner, Baron of Dice. These custom dice have the Implausible Nature logo on the 6 side and also come with square corners, which means they will roll more evenly than rounded corner dice. Head on over to baronofdice.com and use discount code IN40K to get a discount on your. Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. On today's video, we've got a lot to talk about. Warhammer Fest was just this past weekend. Prior to that, there were some articles that had come out, especially one in particular about missions. We're actually going to wait and do that in a future video, so look out for that in the coming days. We feel like that deserves its own video because missions are something that's very important in the competitive environment, and we want to make sure we give it its due attention. But we also, today, as of this recording, GW released the faction focus for Space Marines. So perfect timing. We can talk about Warhammer Fest and our Space Marine faction focus, which gives us a little bit more information, a little bit more insight into what we're planning to see. We got to see a couple more data sheets, which is pretty cool. So we're going to dive right in. We got a lot to talk about here. Where do you want to start, Bob?
Well, I think it would be natural to start at the Warhammer Fest because that
Yep.
came first. So,
Yep. So they revealed the box contents of they're calling it Leviathan box. And it's got, 70 something models, I think they said, which is pretty wild. Um, so it's quite a doozy of a box. I'm expecting this to be pretty pricey, probably $250, maybe even more. But there's 25 Space Marines, 47 filthy Xenos. Um, we don't care about Tyranids. I will say this. This is the only thing I'll say about the Tyranid sculpts. The Tyranid sculpts are really good. So
yeah.
the monsters look really, really cool. So they did a phenomenal job with this. So in this box, you're going to get the Hailfire, Dreadnought. It's called the Balistus Dreadnought because he's on a Redemptor chassis. But if you're familiar with, not Black Temper, but Space Marine lore, the Boxnaut version of him, I believe, is called the Hailfire Dreadnought. It's got the rocket launcher and the twin link las cannon. They also revealed his data sheet. We'll talk about that in just a second. It's got 5 Terminators in it, 5 Stern Guard veterans with various different combi weapons and bolt rifles and things. It's got 10-man Infernus Squad, all of them packing a Pyre Blaster, weapons. The BT, one is now available to all. That's typical. The lesser chapters are always stealing our crap. See Land Raider Crusader. So we'll talk about them as well because they are their data sheet was revealed as well. And then it has the characters. So it has the Filthy Witch in it. It has a Terminator Captain, and it has the Phobos Lieutenant. A pretty and the Apothecary,
Yeah.
the Gravis Apothecary, is also in here. So quite a lot of models in this box, and almost all of them are new units. Terminators are not, obviously, but a Gravis Apothecary, the Infernus guys, the Stern Guards are not a new unit, but new models for them. And then a new variant on a Redemptor. Overall, this is a pretty hefty box. It also is coming with a ton of books. There is rule books. There's Crusade books in it. It's quite beefy. So they are pulling out all the stops, it seems, for 10th edition launch. What are your initial thoughts on the box, Bob?
So I think you get a ton of characters, ton of units to play around with. I think it's a good solid start. Basically, all the, the 8th and ninth boxes, specifically the 8th edition box, um, Dark Imperium. So that was a great box, similar to this one.
Mm-hmm.
They basically give you everything that you need to start. Now, as Black Templars, were we going to probably use a lot of these? Maybe not, but there's good solid pieces to build off of. Maybe the Stern Guard veterans might be a unit that we're using. Infernus Squad, possibly. Uh, but
Would you love to burn the witches?
yes, yes, I know that's kind of a meme for us, but I mean that could possibly be there. We'll talk about their data sheet in a minute, but I think we get a lot of uh, units in this that probably are going to be only place you can get them initially for at least
Hmm.
a good 6 months. That seems like the trend, 6 to 9 months
Yeah.
before they release them individually. So, uh, as far as Black Templars usability, maybe not as much, but
It
we
doesn't
still,
have the wow factor that Indominus had,
yeah,
at least for Black Templars anyway. But at that time, we didn't have our own line of Primaris miniatures. So now we do. And one thing that uh, I do like about this box is one. I'm interested in the Infernus Squad. They are kind of boring looking, to be honest. They're really just intercessors with pyroblasters. But we have our own pyroblaster bits from our Crusader, which have cool Black Templar logos and chains and stuff like that. And we got enough upgrade bits from various different things between decals and everything else that we can make them really look Black Templary. So I'm interested to see how they're going to pan out as far as we'll look at their data sheet here shortly. Um, you know, how they're going to pan out competitively because a whole unit. I really when our codex dropped and they first previewed the model for this guy, and they're like he's got friends, and my first thought was we're getting a whole unit of them. And it did not come to pass in the Black Templar Codex. I was hoping we were going to get a unit of Pyroblaster guys, and we didn't get one. So now we are getting one. Now, granted, everyone else can take it too, but I'm still interested to see how they're panning out because who doesn't love a whole squad full of flamers, right? The other unit that I'm really, well, two units really, the Terminators, I'm really excited about. I know they're like the tactical variant, they're not the assault variant, but they look just so good. They're so much cooler than the regular Terminators. The upscale on them is excellent. I'm really excited for these guys, and the buffs on them on the table are amazing. So, um, really looking forward to those. And the Stern Guards, I am really digging because they are very, very similar to how our Primaris Crusader initiates look. The really only difference between them and the initiates is the initiates have a fancier looking, more medieval style belt, but the tabard is the same. They've got all the veteran gubbins and bits on them that we would be plastering all over our models anyway. So I really think that these guys will be, even if we aren't going to be focusing on Stern Guard as a unit, because maybe they don't play well into our strengths or whatever the case may be. The models will be great conversion fodder as alternate poses for our Primaris Crusaders, I think. So the Dread is, I don't know. It feels wrong to me to have a Dreadnought without a melee weapon. so, but and we'll talk about it in a second too because they revealed its data sheet. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the miniatures overall. The characters are okay. They're nothing that wows me. Not like the Indominus box did, but they're fine. They're just more excited about the other miniatures in the box.
yeah, absolutely. I agree with that assessment. So we have our Infernus Squad here.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the data sheet real quick and kind of move on to the Dreadnought, and we'll kind of talk about the faction focus. So the Infernus Squad here, you can see that it has a 6-inch movement, toughness 3, save 3. I'm sorry, toughness 4, save 3, 2 wounds, 6 plus leadership, and 1 OC. So that's consistent with what they have previewed previously.
Yep, it's going to be our probably standard Space Marine stat line.
Yep, on that one. So, but what they are armed with is a Pyroblaster that ignores cover and has a Torrent special rule. Now, I could be incorrect and just not remembering. I don't believe we know what the Torrent does yet. Um,
So, from what the people who were at Warhammer Fest and because they did get to play with a couple of Infernus guys, is the torrent rule according to, and I've heard this from several people, including Collision on our server who was there and play tested it, is that it ignores it's the auto hits. So yeah, the Pyre Blaster is definitely a little different than our current version. First of all, the range got nerfed; it's down to 12 inches.
that's because
This
the standard one is not as good as ours.
correct. Um, so we'll see if the Black Templar one is any different. I doubt it. But it's otherwise same D6 shots. It's going to auto hit. All flamers seem to ignore cover now, which is excellent. Um, the uh, the strength has gone up a pip. It is now strength 5. However, it did lose its AP 1, which is definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean the AP is unfortunate as far as that goes, and the same thing with the range. But that extra strength does give it additional woundability against Marines,
Hmm.
assuming that the wounding is going to work the same with the weapons.
Yeah.
Um,
I believe they said that it was wounding was going to work the same as far as that. So I think they said that initially in that very first Adepticon reveal that the wound table was staying the same. The I've done some math on this, and against Space Marines, the difference is it's approximately the same. There's a very slight mathematical edge to the old version. Um, but it's like very minute. Against tough 5, this will be better because now you're wounding on 4s instead of 5s. So that's definitely a bump there. Um, the uh, the downside is that against tough 3, it's really just a straight nerf because we're already wounding tough 3 on 3s, and now we lose the pip of AP, which is unfortunate. So um, give and take. However, it the squad has a rule: purge the foe in your shooting phase. After this unit has shot, you can select one enemy infantry unit hit by one or more of those attacks, made with a pyre blaster. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test. So we've learned that battle shock is brutal. You can't your OC goes to 0. You can't spend stratagems on them, and you have to, if you want to fall back, there's something bad happens. And I want to say that from what people said at Warhammer Fest, that like it's similar to what losing morale is now. You like models will die on a certain dice roll when you're if you try to fall back when you do know. So battle shocks forcing a battle shock test is pretty brutal because Battleshock itself is pretty brutal now. So that could swing the tide back, especially against easier to kill units, and you really just have to hit by this unit, so you don't have to wound. So I mean, you're guaranteed to hit something
yeah,
because
it's
it
auto
auto
wounding.
hits. It's auto hitting. So you're basically just auto forcing at bare minimum, you're forcing a battle shock test, which could be game changing. So we'll have to see how these play out and see what the cost on them is. But I'm excited for them. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're the initial like, oh, pyroblasters are not as good, with the AP. After you get over that and you kind of think about it and you take the purge the foe into consideration, I think this might be a key support piece on the battlefield to help uh, deny objectives
Hmm.
from your opponent.
Hmm.
If they're not rocking any OC, then you're going to be easily just walk right on that objective
Yep.
with your Infernus squad and take it over, even if there's units there. So that's going to be kind of a cool little trick that
Yep.
your opponent has to work around.
Absolutely. And we can see here with the melee weapons, it's just a basic close combat weapon, but they do have 3 attacks, further confirming that Shock Assault is probably gone, and we're just by and large getting a +1 attack to all of the units.
Yeah, just
Um,
built in.
just built in, which is fine because, I mean, more often than not, combats didn't last more than a turn or two anyway. And if they did, other units were usually piling in and charging, and we're continuing to get shock assault anyway. So I'm happy with that change. Less rules to remember, right? So let's take a look at this Ballistus Dreadnought. So the first thing that I note is that it's toughness 10. Obviously, we were expecting a bump in toughness. Toughness 10 is pretty beefy by the new standards. I believe the Gladius is also tough 10, or the sorry, Gladiators, the Gladiator tanks that they previewed not long ago, are tough 10 now. So that's a bump up from where it was because Gladiators currently are tough 8, Dreadnoughts, Redemptors are tough 7. So that brings them on par with them, which definitely makes them more sturdy, which I appreciate. And then it's also got a 2+ save. That's definitely a big change for a dreadnought having a 2+ save. So I'm definitely liking that. If the Redemptor and the Brutalis also have a 2+ save, that will make me a very happy man.
Yeah, and it says it's built from the Redemptor chassis, so
Yep,
that's a good possibility that the Redemptors are getting bumped up on both of those.
yep. And then it's movement 8. They're currently movement 8. No surprise there. Wounds are approximately the same. They have 12. I think they currently have 13. Same leadership as the regular Space Marines. OC of 4, which is interesting. It's got the explode, a deadly demise is the explosion rule. They just renamed it, made it a little easier to understand universally, making it a universal rule, right? And then we come to its weapons. What do you think of these missile and las cannon options here?
I would be remiss to say I'm a little bit disappointed in them. Um, just based on what we've seen as far as stat lines from the various different things, especially going against the vehicle chassis that are being previewed, especially
Hmm.
um, with the exception of the previewed uh, weapon, one of the special weapons that we'll talk to just a little bit later. We don't have a ton of anti-vehicle weaponry, and looking at the missile
Or at
launcher,
least ones that are like scary.
yeah,
But at the same time, here's and this is something that we talked about today as a faction focus. They did announce also today that there's going to be a faction focus every single day, every single weekday going forward. So we're going to cover all the factions. I'm really interested actually to see those because so far we've really only seen Space Marine stuff. So while these weapons feel a little weak to me, we also don't know what like a Tau railgun. We know a Tau railgun is strength 20, but we don't know how much damage it does. So we gotta wait and kind of see what some of these other big hitting weapons that other factions have, how they're going to stack up to what these are for us.
yeah, and really until we get that idea, we can't really make a definitive judgment. So I'm making a comparison in a bubble. Uh, but with that being said, it looks a little to me. It does have that nice ballistus strike, but
Hmm. Yep, reroll hits against a target that is not below half strength. Um, so I do like that. It gives you an 88% chance to hit, which is nice. Um, obviously, you can combine that with Oath of Moment to get reroll wounds, which will help a lot as well to make sure these hit home. So now we're also seeing here damaged 1 to 4 wounds remaining. You're going to take a -1 to hit. So this is basically the new degrading damage chart. that they talked about. We're not going to have a movement penalty. We're not going to have other penalties to like its attacks and things like that. It's literally just going to be when you're at a third of your wounds left, you're going to take a -1 to hit,
And I think
which
that's a great change.
I think that's a great change too. There's nothing worse than like, oh, my Land Raider got messed up and bracketed on first turn, and now he's going to creep along the battlefield at like 5 inches or 6 inches.
Yeah, and for a new player, remembering where those brackets are on the wound scale is just really super annoying,
Yeah.
and trying to remember your opponents, and it just simplifies it so
Yep.
much.
Yep. Absolutely. So, something else, since we are on the topic of Warhammer Fest, that they talked about is the roadmap. So, officially, they say we're in autumn of 2023. I'm probably thinking it's going to be more like Q3 sometime, Q3, maybe even Q4, where we're going to see Tyranids and Space Marines. Unsurprisingly, Space Marines are going to be one of the first codexes. We always are. Um, and Tyranids obviously are in the box set, so they're going to come with us as well. Following that will be Admech and Necrons, and then you can see the 2024 ones as well. But they also showed, and this wasn't in any of the articles, this was something that they showed on stream, but a lot of people screen capped it, is this block of all of these codexes. These are all the 9th edition codexes and codex supplements that were released in hardback. There are 26 of them. And if you'll notice, we are on there as Black Templars. So they talked about on stream. Every one of these books is going to be a standalone codex. So for everyone who is nervous about Black Templars, please feel no more fear. We are Space Marines, and we will have our codex, as Black Templars, with our own, rules, of course, our data sheets, our own detachments, our own enhancements. All those things are going to it will be fine. So, everyone needs to stop worrying about that. We are going to, you know, have our own book. So, all those fears can hopefully now be put to rest.
We'll have our own book and have rules to begin
Yep.
the or
Yep.
the new
We will
edition.
have index rules as well. Everyone who is a faction on this list is getting index rules as well. So it's not like we're gonna have to wait for our book to get rules. We will have them at least. Everyone will get one detachment. So we will have a detachment to choose from. And they also did on today's faction focus say specifically that every Space Marine can use the Gladius Detachment, which is what the rules that they revealed for today. So if for whatever reason you decide you want to tilt into how Gladius works instead of whatever ours is going to be, you can do that too, which is pretty cool. So let's take a look at that. Um, and the detachment rule for Gladius is combat doctrines. These are heavily modified. In fact, the only thing they share with the current combat doctrines is the name.
I was going to say, there's
literally,
nothing about them that's the
literally,
same.
they're completely different. The way they're going to work now is at the start of your combat command phase, you'll select one. You can select one, don't have to, from listed below. There's Dev, TAC, and Assault Doctrine. Dev Doctrine allows a unit to shoot in a turn in which it advanced. Tactical is a unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in the turn in which it fell back. And Assault Doctrine is advance and charge. You can so this lasts the whole turn. It is army wide. However, it is a once per game thing. You can only select each combat doctrine once per battle. So I really like these changes. It's less bookkeeping because it's not like, oh, I'm in whatever doctrine. So that AP3 becomes AP4. Oh, but you're in cover, so you get +1 to your save. So it's really AP3. Like you don't have to like whip out a calculator to figure out what dice roll you need to, you know what I mean? So I really like this change. I like the once per game because these are powerful buffs and they're army wide. Um, what do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I really like this change. Like, I cannot really. really contain how much I really like these. I got really excited when I read it this morning. I was like, "Oh my gosh, advance the charge!" And then Alex like settle down, it's one per turn. I'm
It's
like,
just
"Oh."
just once.
It's like I was so excited I didn't even finish reading the rule. So I'm like, it's even still though. It's I mean, each of these is devastatingly good.
Yeah,
Um,
they can turn the
devast-
tide of a game in that in that one using one of them. So um, now here's the caveat: is this is only applicable to the Gladius Strike
yeah,
Force detachment, so which we will have access to, but we
you
don't know
give
what the
up the
Black
Black
Templar one
Templars.
is.
Yep.
We don't know what ours is going to be. Ours may be better, in which case, womp womp, we're not going to be using this. But the option is there. So I'm tempering my enthusiasm because I want to see what the Black Templar one looks like, which hopefully will be really good. Um, so so yeah, they also did a unit spotlight, and we finally get to see the Land Raider data sheet. Not only just what they've been previewing, but we get to see the full data sheet with the back of the thing. The only thing we're missing is points. So now, obviously, this is the I believe they call it the God Hammer Land Raider or Phobos. I remember it was Phobos pattern. I think it's Phobos pattern, and the God Hammer is the las cannons. Yeah, that's right. So it's the Phobos pattern Land Raider, which is the traditional Land Raider. Obviously, we all prefer the Crusader, but I think there's some things that we can infer from it. So first, it's a 10-inch move. I think they're 10-inch move now. Is that right? I can't remember. It's been so long since I looked at their data sheet. They still have 16 wounds, still have a 2+ save. They have OC 5, which is interesting, and they are tough 12, which is sort of what we were expecting. No surprise there from me. We saw the repulsor was tough 12. There was no way the Land Raider wasn't going to be tough 12 if the repulsor is. So, what are your thoughts on the Land Raider, Bob?
So I think it's a pretty durable piece of hardware. Um, but this data sheet is underwhelming for me as far as the firepower component. Again, that's in a bubble
Yeah,
of
we don't know
what
what
we've
other
seen.
armies are going to have. It may be comparable, in which case we're like, great,
Yeah.
you know. So,
But overall, I think that this one probably will be still on your shelf. The OC is interesting as far as that goes because it could hold the objective against a 5-man unit that's not a troop squad, but the durability of the unit and the assault ramps tend to say that you're going to move it up the board. Against troop units, it's not going to do the job. It's going to sit there. You're going to spend a lot of points on it, and it's not really going to do anything. So I'm hoping the Land Raider Crusaders weapons are going to kind of compensate for that. So it has a little bit more oomph as far as what you're going to get for that, and make it the good use of the assault ramp and have the
mhm.
guns to really kind of validate it being on the board after the car goes out. This with the las cans, I think it's a little bit meh. But again, that bubble of not knowing.
Yep, yep, absolutely. The assault ramp allows you to declare a charge in which you jumped out, which we've learned previously is, and I don't know if we talked about this in the last video. I don't think so. I think this was content in between that the assault ramp, everyone can get out, and basically everyone gets the impulsor rule right now, where you can get out, but you can't charge after moving. The assault ramp allows you to charge. Finally, it's back. So really happy about that. Also, it can carry any kind of model. It doesn't matter if it's Gravis. It doesn't matter if it's Primaris. It's just Adeptus, Astartes Infantry, and then they take up various different a number of spaces. Um, Something else that to note, which is pretty cool, the armored tracks are now hitting on 4s with 6 attacks and strength 8. So that's nothing to sneeze at. You know, 6 strength 8 attacks hitting on 4s is pretty solid for a melee profile. So they're instead of most vehicles now hit on 6s, which sucks. It's basically just like, what am I even doing? Um, You know, and it's not going to degrade. It's always going to have 6 attacks. So even on 1 wound, the sucker's going to have 6 attacks. So yeah, but I'm kind of with you. I'm a little underwhelmed by this. You know, we're going to have to see what the rest of the other Crusader, the other Land Raiders look like. The rest of the Codex, the rest of the other armies are going to look like. So,
Yeah, I
um,
am disappointed with that stupid multi-melta. It still bothers me that it's only 18 inches.
oh yeah, that's right. They nerfed the multi melta,
Yep,
18
and then
inches.
it's the melta 2, so it means you do the
It's
extra damage within half range.
mhm,
9 inch range on meltas is pretty rough.
bad. It's bad, and honestly, we've only seen a couple of monsters. And I'm hoping that Melta will still have a place to kill monsters because they are not going to be very good against vehicles, which is weird because they're supposed to be the anti-tank gun, and they're just not. They're only strength 9. Most vehicles are going to be at least toughness 9, a lot of toughness 10, then toughness 12. Well, it doesn't matter once it's past 9. You're wounded on 5s, so which
I
is
mean,
pretty.
I'm still probably going to take it, assuming the points aren't outrageous. But I'm just
As much as it's been nerfed, I think that it should be either pretty cheap or free, in my opinion. Moving right along, we get to see a couple of weapon previews here. The Hog is one of them, and I am pleasantly surprised to see that it is still 12 shots.
it lost some AP, but this thing is
It's
still
got
going to do
devastating
some
wounds.
damage because of devastating.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep. So it's actually mathematically exactly the same. I think it'll be a little bit more consistent because you'll be able to punch. You know, you can spike harder with it. You know, which is nice. Yeah, will be interesting to see what they do with the Gladiators twin hog. I'm curious to see how that pans out. Whether it'll be 24 shots or whether it'll be a twin linked. Get to reroll those wounds. 12. You could fish for 6s to get those. Or no. I guess it's hits. Devastating wounds is a 6 to. Or
To
no, it's a
wound
6 to wound
does
is
immortal.
a mortal wound. Yeah, so you could fish for mortal wounds. It's not additional mortal wounds, mind you. It is just a mortal wound and the sequence ends.
Yeah, so
But
it allows you to punch up, which is really cool.
yep, yep. Speaking of punching up, we get to see the heavy laser destroyer finally doesn't suck anymore.
Yeah, this is what I reference
This
as
is a
being
tank killer.
this kills tanks.
Yeah,
So I mean, it does only have 2 attacks still, which is kind of come on, but
but
it's 16 strength, 4 AP in a world that they're obviously
is a lot less AP.
taking AP down,
Yeah.
especially on the Space Marine stuff. And then you have that damage profile. Woohoo!
Yep.
D6 plus 4.
Yep.
Now, you know, you're averaging a 3.5 on a D6, so you're going to be at least 7 damage on average
Hmm.
against most things. So, looking at the different vehicles that have been out or characters, you know, you're running anywhere from 6 to 10. So, there's a good possibility if you buff this thing or you utilize
Oath of moment.
Oath of Moment that you're going to kill something in one turn with this.
Yep.
So that's a
Which is
great.
impressive. Yep. It also is heavy, which means that if you stand still, it hits on 2s.
There you go. That's even better.
So,
I forgot
yep.
about that.
Yep.
So I mean, that's a good thing. It makes me wonder what our Gladiator version is going to be. If it's going to be similar, I
Hmm.
know that it's a little bit less strong, but even if it's a like a D6 plus 2, maybe 14 strength, similar AP, I would be happy with that because it's a much cheaper tank rather than taking it on the massive repulsor executioner
Yep.
behemoth.
I
But
know I have maligned the Lancer a lot. However, this is why we don't glue things together, kids. So that way you can swap
magnets.
weapons out. You don't even need magnets with this tank. It literally just fits together. Yeah. We'll have to see what it looks like. I'm not opposed to a Lancer that has a stat line similar to this. So, um, yeah. And then we get a stratagem spotlight. One of the Gladius task force provides 6 crucial options. One of this is only in death does duty end, and it's 2 CP, which is pretty pricey. However, this is pretty good. I actually really like this strat. In the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, select one Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed, if that model has not fought this phase, do not remove it from play. That destroyed model can fight after the attacking model's units finished making its attacks and is then removed from play. Cool. So your really super deadly killy thing is smashing into my super deadly killy thing, only I'm not super durable, and you're gonna probably wipe me or whatever. Cool. For 2 CP, I'm gonna kill you back. This is really strong. This is really strong. I'm hoping that Black Templars get something as good as this because obviously we can use this if we take Gladius, but again, I'm hoping that our own detachment is going to be better for us. Um, so so yeah, but this is a great stratagem. If this is the quality of the strats that we're going to be getting, we've already seen the teleport strike thing, which is great from the Terminators. Both very good quality strats. If these are the quality strats that we're going to be seeing, I'm happy.
Yeah,
So
this is an excellent stratagem. There's tons of mind play that you can do with this. Good players are always talking to your opponent, and you're like, "Hey, don't forget, I have only in death does duty end."
yep,
And you're like, "What does that do?" Oh, well, I get to fight
um,
back with my really insanely strong close combat unit.
yep, mutually
Oh,
assured destruction.
maybe I don't want to do that.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so that's kind of what they've previewed for us since the last time we made a video. Which apologies, guys, that we have not really been putting out a lot of content lately. We've had some in real life work and things getting in our way. Plus, we're also in this weird space of what do we talk about? you know, everyone can read the articles, everyone can read the other news networks, as it were, YouTube channels. That's not something that we usually do. We like our content to be more evergreen. So it's been kind of interesting of what we're going to try to focus
Yeah.
on over the next month or so. I do want to do some lore videos. Maybe now is a good time to pump some out and see about that. Um, so yeah, any final thoughts, Bob, on all the reveals thus far?
Yeah, I think it's we're going in a great direction. Everyone was kind of scared about, we talked a couple months ago about the reset that was coming, and
Hmm.
I mentioned that I was happy about it, and I think most people are kind of turning to that side of like, okay, now that we've seen some more stuff, I think I like it. Um, yeah, there's going to be some changing and growing pains with differing things. But so far, I'm liking what I've seen, even though I'm underwhelmed with some of the units. But that's okay. You can't have everything like massively good.
Yep.
So I'm pleasantly happy so far as that what they've released and what we've seen, and it gives us at the very least a reset on our thinking of what is good and what's bad, and that knocks those competitive juices going again. So
We
that's
might
why.
see the return of the Land Raider, which would be amazing because I have two on my shelf just waiting to see the table. So yeah, I'm. You guys know I've been very skeptical. I'm very resistant to change. I was definitely one of the ones that was very hesitant and whatnot. And I've loved virtually everything I've seen so far, and I'm actually really excited to see more. As the days go by, we see more faction focuses. We're going to get a better focus, a better idea on the game as a whole. And yeah, looking forward to release day. So yeah, so that's all we have for you today. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to make sure you hit that subscribe button and like so you can and hit the bell notification so you can get notified on all of our latest content. We have a really great active Discord channel, so come check us out there. Our dice are back in stock. go check them out, catch them while they're hot. Although we have put into production a lot more dice at a time now,
Yep.
so we should not have any more issues with supply on dice. I know they've been very popular, and people are like, "Oh, you're out of stock," so we
We
shouldn't have
didn't
that any
expect
more
them to
stress.
be so popular.
We didn't expect it, so thank you guys for. We really appreciate that because that does support us as well. And speaking of supporting us, our patrons, we could not do this without you guys.
Absolutely.
It really definitely helps us out a ton. So thank you for all of that. We also want to give a special shout out to Link to Edition. Not only is he our first Castellan level, patron, but he's been with us since the beginning. One of probably our longest running patron, and one of our great moderators on our Discord channel. Thank you for all you do, Link.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, you know, um, we definitely really appreciate you. So, um, come check us out. We got a lot of great benefits, great new benefits with our Patreon as well. So check that out. There's a link down in the description. And until next time, keep on crusade.